low voice, but it is almost not understandable.
I mean, is here better than before?
Yeah, it's better.
Okay, okay, thank you. Mm, uh, uh, yeah, Professor, I in this week, I read
Strategies.
some books and study how to organize the titles and organize the series, and I found a series name is K Catas Catast. I'm sorry. Uh, can I share my screen?
Yes, of course.
Oh, okay. Okay. Uh, First, can you
Means
see
of.
my screen?
Yes, yes.
Okay, okay. For the title, I think about the series. Maybe it's a K, K, K test. Yeah, this kind of series.
Hmm.
Yes, so I changed a little about the aim. So the aim is also is a strategy towards the renewable and industrial heritage, and but is the use ways is changed a little because I want to use this kind of series to do the study, um, such as uh, uh, such as such as such as through a small point to do the to to do the catalytic effect, and and because I after I study the series, I think it is a way to do the is a strategy to promote. Yeah. Uh. Mm, um. Yes. And first, through the bibliography, I think is I I read a lot of master series. First is from the industrial and from the urbans, and I also read some books, and uh, and this is what I read in this week, and I think this book gave me a lot of ideas. Is American urban architecture catalyzing in the design of the city, and I in this week I mean study about this book, and also study some industrials and urban renewable situations in China, and also read some Chinese books and series about it. So after that, I read the structure of the series, and to organize different chapter to use the catalytic concept in combine with the project.
In the context of.
So maybe first is to introduce the urban renewal and industrial buildings, and because there are many problems and the need to change a lot in the urban renewal situations. And the first chapter is describe the problems such as concept. That is why I choose this way to um, oh, this is why I writing this. And second chapter is about introduce the concept. I think it's maybe three. first is urban renewal and industrial heritage, and also the characteristic series, and also in this chapter I will writing the aims and some ways how to write the article like this. And the number 3 chapter is about is more like to introduce the series. I mean the organized strategies and the heritage in the generations. Is more like to writing the define the characteristic, and also what's the type of this, and also how it act in this area like this. And number 4 is about, I think maybe need to do a survey towards the people who live in the areas, and combine with it to do a case. That is because I want to it's more like to do a research way to
Keyword.
to combine. So so the service is maybe is to show the industrial what's the people think about the industrial heritage, because maybe is a lot of people didn't know the heritage, industrial heritage. They maybe know a lot of the history of the old building in some city, but the industrial is this kind of knowledge is lack. And also because I want to study the point is the catalyst. So maybe also in this concept there have many elements need to do factor will influence this because catalytic is more like is first is come from the chemical this kind of study. So maybe they will have some influence, small influence. And number 5 is to use this way into Loyang proposal. Yes, and sorry, I forgot to say, the case study is first is from the German case, because I found there is a blue cell, maybe it's this, and there have a industrial area. The government put a long times into this project, and I think it is a good example.
Introduces.
And another maybe is from China, maybe to do a case from one is in German and one is in China, to do this kind of analyze. And number 5 chapter is strategies and proposal. Number 6 is the conclusion like this. And I also write the detail about how to organize it. Professor, do you have some advice about this?
Yes, I have so many advices. Okay, so first of all, I'd like to reform the way we communicate, because it is important when you work to a graduation thesis. It is important that you send me the materials that you are doing
Yes.
some days in advance, because I need some times in order to read them, to have an idea about them. And so when we speak directly, I can give you some advices, because otherwise, if you are showing me the things in the same moment we are speaking, we lose one meeting, because nowadays in this moment I cannot read all the things that you wrote, and
Okay.
so it is impossible for me to react in the proper way to what you are showing me. Okay.
Okay.
So for the next meetings, please send me the materials at least 3-4 days in advance, so I have the time to download them and to read them, and I can give you some advices when we will meet.
Okay, thank you. I want to, yes, because this series is when I read in Tuesday, so maybe it's not, yeah.
Yes, I I don't want to enter in the details of your personal organization of your work. So you can do whatever you want. I just have to remind you, first of all, that you you decided a deadline, which is December, which is very near, and so I suggest you to speed up your work.
Uh,
And besides this, I can imagine that maybe you can have maybe some problems. So the in one week, in a particular week, you are not working so much. But in this case, it is unuseful to meet if you cannot send me the material, because otherwise, I don't have anything to speak about. And now I tried to listen to your explanation. I tried to grab to understand what you were
uh,
talking telling me,
okay.
but I don't have the time to read this document in 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 this moment. So
Okay.
please, okay, let's try to do it.
Okay.
Besides this,
Sorry.
I think that we need to declutter, to make to put the things in order, because I see a great mess in your document, in your reasoning. Let's start from
And.
the beginning, please.
Okay.
From the beginning. Okay.
Okay.
So first of all, I have some problems about your title, because you write the study of the renewal of urban old industrial site based on a theory of urban K-test. K-test is not an English word, doesn't mean anything.
Uh,
So at the beginning, I thought that you were meaning the cadasters, but the cadasters are something which is really,
Catalysts.
probably you don't know what a cadaster is. A cadaster is an official document which is preserved in the seats of the municipality, which is the repository of all the information about the private properties of the city. I don't think that you are, yes, probably after your explanation, I thought I understood that you were meaning the catalysts. Okay.
okay.
Besides this, I would like to warn you about this attitude, which is, I see, very common in Chinese
The.
students, of using a particular study that was done by a scholar or a group of scholars and so on, and to name it as a recognized theory. Actually, you are talking about urban catalysts. I know that there is a book which is titled Urban Catalysts,
Uh,
but this is not a theory. It cannot be compared to, I mean, worldwide recognized theory. It is a contribution of some scholars.
okay.
So I think that your work is not a work based on the theory of urban catalysts. As long as I can understand from your presentation, from your discussion that you just made,
Oh,
it seems to me that you are more trying to work on the possibilities of the temporary uses in former industrial sites. I think that this is the central meaning of your research. I still don't know what could be the final title of your work. Maybe we can decide it after. But I think that the core
Catalyst.
business of your work, the focus of your work, is on the temporary uses of the of the old industrial site. Do you agree with me with that?
Yes, you mean temporary.
Temporary. Which means that in the past, especially here in Europe, in the 80s and the 90s, when the problem of the industrialization was growing here in Europe, the first projects were all meant to find some new, comprehensive, and definitive uses for these industrial sites. For instance, you are here in Torino, so probably you know the Lingotto factory, or there are many other examples of some renovations that were done in those periods when they did huge projects that were fulfilled just in a single solution. Nowadays, it is much more difficult to do something like that because we are in a different economic period, so it is more difficult to perform this kind of comprehensive project for these sites. And it is much more interesting to find some adaptive reuse strategies. I think that in your case, what you are trying to explore is the potentiality of the adaptive reuse. This is one of the most important keywords in your work, adaptive reuse, which means that you are reusing an industrial site, changing its original function. So it is, for instance, it is no longer a factory; it can become whatever you want, and it means that you are not working on a blueprint. You are not working on an entire design that must be fulfilled in a single solution, but you are working more on a flexible strategy, which means that you can start occupying some parts of the factory with some uses, and then these uses can change during the time, and so on. And I think that if you make your focus with in this sense, you will have much more arguments to study about your case study. Also, because you will find a lot of literature, which is very interesting. For instance, I would like to suggest you to read a book that was written a couple of years ago by a professor, a colleague of mine in my department, which is Matteo Robiglio. And this book is titled, let me search for the right title. Yes, it is written. I can try to paste the link in the chat.
Okay.
Let me find the chat. Okay. I put the paste. This is a paste of Amazon, but you can try to retrieve the book wherever you want, also in the library.
Okay.
This book is titled Re-USA, and it is a study of a series of adaptive reuse projects of former industrial buildings in the USA. And it is very interesting, in my opinion, from many points of view. First of all, because he did a great work of analysis, of architectural analysis of these buildings, of redrawing of these buildings in these projects. And besides this, because it has a very interesting literature review, an international literature review about these arguments. Okay? So, I mean, this is, in my opinion, this is the correct general framework of your work, of your research. Besides this, if you want to use this book, I don't remember the authors of the book Urban Catalysts, but for sure
Industrial Heritage.
Yes, Wayne Etto and Don Logan. Yes. Okay, if you want to use these specific experiences as an inspiration for your work, okay, that's perfect. But don't remember that these are specific experiences, these are specific interpretations, okay? Because I can assure you that if you go somewhere and you say, okay, I see that you already mentioned Matteo Robiglio, USA, this book.
Yes.
Yeah, the number two, yes, it's this one. Yes.
Okay.
And but because I can assure you that if you go everywhere in the world and you speak about the theory of urban catalysts, no one will understand you unless they read this specific book of Wayne Etto and Don Logan. Okay, so please remember that the topic that you are facing in your research is adaptive reuse, temporary use of the old industrial sites, and so on. Okay.
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 Uh,
Besides this, I'd like to tell you that yeah, your document is very messy, is
okay.
very cluttered.
I will
So
organize later.
yes, I suggest because you mixed together some personal notes, and I can understand that the personal notes are important because you are fixing with these free texts, some ideas, and so on. But you mix them with the index of your book, and it is all very complicated. So I would like to suggest you this. First of all, you should try to write um, an, a, a long abstract of your research. So try to summarize your research in a couple of pages, trying to use a specific framework. So first of all, you should start with the research question. What is
Okay.
your main goal? The main goal, yeah, the study aim as you go.
Okay.
Second, the international literature starting point. So you should try to summarize in some phrases what are the most important contributions that the international literature gave about this argument. So where you want to start from the point of view of the general knowledge about this argument.
Okay.
Third, the methodology. The methodology is very important. So what are you supposed to do? You are going to examine the international literature, and then are you going to do a research, a field work? I think yes, because you mentioned this place in Goyang. And how are you going to treat this case study? This case study? Are you going to do drawings? Are you going to make interviews? Are you going to study historical documents? Are you going uh, to retrieve some quantitative data in order to make some analysis? There is no limits, no limitations to the things that you could do, but you must uh, focus exactly on these methodological parts of your work that you want to treat. So you must explain what you are going to do.
Okay.
Four, the expected results. So what you are expecting from this work. What are you going to what are you willing to obtain? Do you want to obtain a precise project for a specific place? I hope no, because this will be a kind of a professional work, not a research work. Are you going to explore the possibility of creating a strategy for the changing of the space that could be reused in some other places? Okay, this could be very interesting in my opinion. So if you can frame the outlines of a strategy of changing about this place. Do you want to create some guidelines that maybe could be useful also for other municipalities or for other places, and so on? So this is very important. The expected results of your work, and finally, as you wrote, the bibliography. And the
Of
bibliography,
the
I think that you must improve dramatically your
heritage.
bibliography because nowadays it has very few texts. But I would suggest you to try to organize your bibliography not as you are doing it. I mean, in simple alphabetical order or chronological order.
Okay.
But I would suggest you to reorganize your bibliography in some, in some paragraphs that are dedicated to specific
Okay.
arguments. This is what we call normally a reasoned bibliography, which means that you say for this specific argument, uh, I am using these 12 books. for this specific argument, I'm using these 20 books and papers and so on. If you work like this, so if you try to reorganize your bibliography by argument, by different arguments, I can assure you that your bibliography will be much more useful. First of all, for the people that will read your work, because when you are reading a work of someone else, if you find something like that in the bibliography, you will be your it will be much more it will be much easier for you to find the references that you need. But besides this, it would be much more useful also for you, because working like this with the bibliography is like doing some piles of book on your desk, each one dedicated to a specific argument. And each pile of book will allow you, each virtual pile of book, will allow you to focus more effectively on the specific logical passages of your work. So my suggestion is to work like this. Once you did these things, I mean this long abstract, which is organized with these paragraphs in the bibliography, I suggest you to do another document, or maybe in the following part of the document, and you try to do your index. Okay, the index should be, in order to be very effective, please, first of all, please consider that the index is the first thing that normally you do in a research work, and it is also the last thing that you do. And normally during the research work, you continue to change the index, because the index is a kind of it's a kind of a roadmap for a travel. You start a travel with your backpack on your shoulders, and you start traveling, and you have a plan. But during your travel, you discover something more interesting. You realize that something that you thought it would be interesting is not that interesting, and so you skip it, and so on. And so you change your index according to the discoveries that you do during your travel, your research travel. Okay, so I suggested to do, first of all, this index, and a good index should be nested, I mean, and subarticulated. So don't limit yourself to write just the general titles of the chapters. Try to go deeper in the suborganization of the single chapters, in the paragraphs, and try to explain to yourself, before then to me, what could be the contents of the single paragraph. Because if you do an index with just the chapter titles, it means that every single line, every single title that you place will be something, will recap, will resume something like 30 to 40 pages, 30 to 50 pages. And it is a lot. It is a lot. So it is very hard to understand the contents, to resume the possible contents of a part of your reasoning of such a long text. But if you fragment, if you nest your index in paragraphs and subparagraphs, yes, like this, exactly like this, it would be much easier for you to reorganize your ideas, because each one of these paragraphs will be just 4 to 5 pages. So it is easier for you to recap in just one phrase what is the content of these few pages. But besides this, because I see that you wrote some titles besides these paragraphs, I would suggest you to open a parenthesis or something like that, and to write something more about these contents. Take some notes in the index. The index should be something that goes with your research. And when you have some idea, put it in the index. So it is like building a giant library with a lot of shelves and so on. So a good index can allow you to make order in your ideas, and to organize much more effectively your thoughts. Okay. Okay. Besides this is, I mean, theoretical part, I mean the text part of your work. Besides this, it is important that you start right now to organize the application of your work. I mean, it is important that you take the drawings of your case study of your factory and you start creating some maps and you start organizing some schemes or some graphs that can explain the overall condition of this factory, that can allow you to grab some information and so on. So you have basically, when you do research in the design field, you have basically two kind of activities, writing and drawing. And I suggest you to bring these two activities together. Don't write just and don't draw just. You have to write and draw together because the considerations that you do in your text, in your in the operation of writing your thesis, will nurture your design activity. So they will suggest you some ideas and so on. And in the opposite sense, as you are working to your design area, so as you are doing maps, as you are trying to do some design hypothesis and so on, these ideas will nurture the writing of your thesis, the text of your thesis, your theoretical analysis of the problem. Okay, so don't forget that these two parts of your drawings of your work, should always be merged and linked together. They should never be separated and autonomous.
Okay. Understand. So, Professor, do you think
Sorry?
Let me think how to speak. Yes, because when I do the set proposals, I find this kind of characteristic from the point and the line characteristic can do the.
Are these schemes made by you, or did you grab them from other works?
I writing almost 5,000 words and drawing some paragraph, but it's hard to because I don't know.
No, sorry. Probably you did not understand my question.
Yes.
I see in these pages some schemes, these very simple drawings. My question is, are these drawings original drawings that you did, or are these pictures taken from other
It's I drawing from the PS. Yes, I try to explain to you, so I draw something.
Sorry, I don't understand. my question is very simple, and the answer should be simple as well. I am asking you, did you do these drawings, or did you scan these drawings from other documents, or someone else? The answer is yes, I did these drawings. No, I took these drawings from other works.
It's I did.
Yeah, okay. These are original drawings made by you.
Yes.
Is that okay? And in these drawings, you are trying to explain something that you understood from other works, I suppose, from the literature.
Yes, because I read these books from America, and it puts forward some theories, and I try to use this way to organize.
Okay. Well, about this, my suggestion is this. First of all, I would like to ask you to privilege always original drawings. So it will be better that you create your own personal set of illustrations for your thesis. If you find a very super interesting drawing that was made from another scholar, from another person, okay, you can insert it in your drawing, declaring that in your thesis, declaring that this drawing is coming from another study. But since this is a design thesis, it would be always much more important that you are able to do your personal interpretations, okay, like you are trying to do. My only concern about what you are showing here is that
I want to show is study point, such as from some characteristic, maybe is a factory
The
to
city.
change the functions to influence this oil industrial area. From the line characteristic, maybe it's from the space, or yes, like this to influence others. So I'm sorry, I put this.
yes, but sorry, you are entering in the specific arguments. I was speaking about a more methodological
Okay.
problem. My only concern about this drawings that you are showing me is that they are very abstract, they are very simple, and this could be okay. But in order to use such kind of representation in a very effective way, you must create a kind of of a logical sequence of arguments that bring you to this kind of super simplification. If you take some examples in international literature of this kind of drawing, when you have some, yes, okay. So I would suggest you to start first of all from the place, from the site, with some original maps, yes, like this one, and your interpretations. Once you start from these places, you can gradually simplify your thoughts in order to arrive at the end of your presentation to give a very comprehensive and super simple idea which can be summarized with these simple graphs.
Yes, I want to show is the factory maybe is the point, and this kind of is a land strategies like this.
Okay. So I'm sorry, but I don't have so much time more. I think that the things that you should do are very clear, and so you must reorganize your text, your index. You should start also to write some parts of the index. I suggest you to work in parallel on the site, on the case study, with maps, with drawings. Try to enter deeply in the knowledge of this place thanks to the drawing. And I would suggest you not to. This is a very typical thing of the Chinese students. I don't know why, but you tend to insert a lot of pictures in the same page, and the result is that you have a bunch of very small pictures that probably each one requested 1 week of work, but they are all stuck in a single page, and it is completely impossible to understand anything. Take your space. If you're working on a beautiful map, which is a comprehensive map, very detailed, which explains very well the property of your area and so on. Okay, let's present it in the full page, or maybe in the double page if you need. Okay, don't press so much your work, because otherwise you're really wasting your work, and it is a pity.
Okay, understand.
Okay?
Thank you, Professor.
Okay.
For the reuse, in that, because you just mentioned is adapt to reuse is also the keywords.
Yeah, I think that the most important keywords for you are adaptive reuse, temporary uses, I mean, tactics. Oh, no, sorry, strategies. Yeah, strategy and tactics, and so on. This kind of frame of reference, in my opinion, is important for you. So you are not working on a general blueprint for the renovation of the entire site, but you are working on the potential effects of the single tactic operation. I mean, single transformation that can be also temporary. This is very important,
Okay,
I think.
so the adapt to reuse is towards the factory or towards to the urban? Uh, um,
It depends. Adaptive reuse is a very comprehensive concept. It can be applied to, I think, every urban object. You can speak about adaptive reuse of a single building, also a residential building, or a former industrial building,
okay.
or a former commercial building. You have adaptive reuse. Adaptive reuse means simply that you take a building that in its first life was supposed to serve a specific function, like for instance, production or commerce or other functions, and you reuse the building, changing the function. So you take an original industrial building, and the building becomes a commercial building or a service building or a residence or something else. So adaptive reuse means simply this, that you change the original function of the building in the renovation. Besides this, in many of the most recent adaptive reuse transformations, what is interesting is that especially for the giant buildings, for the buildings that are so big that they are comparable to a part of the city, in these cases, it is very, very hard to have the money, to have the also the social and political circumstances to change, to transform the entire building in one single moment. And so in these cases, when the building is so giant that it is comparable to part of the city, what you need is not just a project in the sense of a blueprint or something that decides everything for everywhere and just needs some money in order to be
Okay.
fulfilled. In these cases, you need much more a strategy, which is something which is a general plan for the transformation of the building, which proposes a vision for the transformation, but which is on the other side also flexible in order to deal with the changings of the conditions that you can face when the transformation is done.
Okay. Understand.
Okay,
Then thank you, Professor.
and this is something that nowadays in Europe, in the Western world, this is the normal frame of reference, because in this after the crack of Lehman Brothers in 2008, the economic global condition show that it is almost impossible to fulfill these giant projects of renovation of the city in just one snap of your fingers like
Okay.
this. I think that in China, this is something which is emerging in the very last years, because in
Mm.
China, you know better than me. Normally, the urban transformations are much faster
Uh,
than in Italy, than in Europe, and so on. And so, normally in China, it is still possible to do these giant operations in just one snap of your fingers. But I think that also this different approach, which means a more strategic approach based on a roadmap for the transformation, a flexible project, is also interesting for the Chinese context, because in many places, in many cases, this this could be the right solution for the
okay.
problems.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank.
Okay, so see you next time. Write me when you are ready, and please, when you write me, send me some days in advance your stuff so I can be prepared when we speak
Okay.
together, and I can enter deeper in your things.
Okay. Thank you, Professor.
Thank
Bye.
you. Goodbye.